Here's the deal is that it goes back to connection. It goes back to that emotional availability. And when you keep a secret, you don't know this, but you are building an emotional wall between you and your spouse. And the more secrets that you keep, the bigger that wall becomes and the easier that becomes. And then it's like, you know, there's going to be this something between you and your spouse and you don't know what it is, but it's that invisible wall that you built by keeping the secrets. Everybody, welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters. This is a podcast where we talk about marriage matters because
marriage matters.
You know it does.
Yes, it does.
If you're watching for the very first time, my name is Glenn Coleman and I'm joined by my beautiful wife.
Hi, I'm Tanya Coleman.
Yeah, and so, you know, we're going to give you some tips and tricks, or we try to at least give you some tips and tricks to make your relationships better.
Yes.
To make your relationships better.
Healthier.
Speaking of
thriving.
better. Speaking of better. Speaking of growth. Last week, I stumbled all over a quote. You know, I was just like, I don't know. It's something. So I went and looked it up. So I just wanted to make sure that, you know, because this is our philosophy on growth. And so I want to share it with you. And the quote is, and it's by St. Jerome. That's all it said. I don't know who St. Jerome is. Hopefully he's a pretty good dude, you know. Anyway. The quote says, good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best.
Okay, it almost sounds like a rap.
You know, you want me to rap it? Give me a beat. Give me a beat.
Epic fail. Okay.
No, don't give me a beat.
Okay.
Don't do that. I ain't gonna put you out there.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, but don't let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. And the concept, I believe, is just you always should be growing.
That's absolutely true.
Because I don't think we ever, even when our best, we can make it better.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
That was good.
What'd you think?
I agree. I said I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa.
What?
Whoa. Wait. We can talk about that a little bit later.
I did say I wasn't upset. I wasn't frustrated.
Oh, okay.
I said I agree.
Okay. So anyway.
Communication.
How y'all doing? So I wanted to read, instead of a review this week, I was going to read a message that we received in our DMs. So somebody slid into our DMs in a good way. So they left us this message. I want to share.
So how about they did not slide into the DMs?
They went up in there.
They got in the DMs.
They knocked the door. Boom. Bust up in the door. Yeah. What's up? What y'all doing up in here? You know? I had a good story about DMs, but we said we wasn't going to belabor this.
No, we're not going to belabor.
All right. So anyway, I'm not going to say this person's name because it's a message, that direct message to us. And we always say we want to keep those things confidential. But this is a portion of the message. I didn't put the whole message in there. He says, I just want to say thanks to you and your wife for posting. And he's talking about the video that we posted.
Okay.
He says, I love the energy that you guys have between y'all. It's refreshing hearing a good Christian couple talk about sex and intimacy. Keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so that's encouraging.
Very encouraging.
It's very encouraging.
Yeah.
So we always appreciate your comments.
Absolutely.
We appreciate the messages, the encouragement, all of those things. So keep them coming. And so on to the next thing.
Yeah, so we are going to do conversation starters.
Yes, so we've been using the Anatomy of Marriage app. Shout out to Seth and Melanie Studley.
Yes.
They also have a podcast called The Anatomy of Us. Check them out. It's available also on YouTube, on iTunes, on iTunes, and they're probably on YouTube.
Probably on YouTube also.
So check them out. But we use their conversation starters, and it's a great tool for you to use in your marriage just to start conversations.
Yes.
Thus, it's called Conversation
Starters. And
so if you, I'll just say, if you go into the app, it's in the toolbox and you can find it there. So what are we doing this week?
So we're going to do family this week. That'll be our topic. So they have several topics: family, intimacy, just for fun, our story. And so this week we're going to focus on family.
Okay.
So the question is, how has having children changed us? I know we've done how it's changed you before, individually, but how has it changed us?
So how has it changed? I think, this is my opinion, it caused us to not be as focused on us. As, because we had to focus on the kids a little bit more.
A lot more.
And especially in the beginning. And I will say that now at the stage that we're in, they don't require as much as our attention. But I think that it's like, I see it as a reverse scale kind of deal. It's like, as they become more independent, and we have to focus more on ourselves, so that way, when they don't need us anymore, this is still good. Did that make sense?
It does.
So but I think that's how it's changes. It's changes time wise. It's like in a lot of our time that we would just spend with each other has to now be divided and given
more to the kids. Yeah, that's good.
That's hopefully that I answered that.
Yeah, that was a good. That was a good.
Okay.
That was a good.
That was a good, man.
A good explanation.
Okay. Let's see. If you could tell our kids 3 big life takeaways, what would they be and why?
Trust yourself.
Okay.
You can do more than what you think you can do often.
Okay. That's one.
2, your relationship with God is the most important relationship you will ever have, because it will guide every other relationship and decision that you ever make.
Okay.
That's 2. And the second most important thing, I believe, for our kids is their education.
Okay.
And the quality of education that they allow themselves to receive.
Okay.
And I tell them that often, that Jesus and your education are the 2 number one things, should be the number one things in your life this day, because it is going to impact the rest of your life going forward.
Yeah. So and I like you put this day in there.
This today. Okay.
All right. So yeah, man, those are great. Those are always fun. And so check that out. Anatomy of Marriage app. There's some other tools on there that you can use. So let's go ahead and get into this week's episode. And this week, we're going to be talking about, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? And I guess the whole concept of this is you need to identify that line and make that line known before you get to that line.
Okay.
I think so many times the reason why we cross the line in our relationships is we don't know what that line is, and we only realize that we've crossed it after we've crossed it. Okay. And you may think, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I shouldn't have acted that way. I shouldn't have behaved that way. So on and so forth.
So when you say, where do we cross the line, you mean in our behavior, the way that we treat one another, the way that we speak to one another? What do you mean exactly when you say all of that?
All of those things.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we need to kind of set up ground rules,
good.
for our relationship, and say, no matter what happens, we're not, even if we're not agreeing and seeing eye to eye, we're not going to do this. We would never do this. And sometimes, again, you don't know that's a line for you until it's crossed. And then, if that happens, then you have that conversation. Right. So there's a couple of things that, a couple of ones that we try to live by or employ in our relationship. And we want to share those with you. Not to say that these are the ones that you have to set for yourselves. Right. You need to have that conversation, but we say these are pretty good ones. And I think that they're pretty level or good across the board, that they're not so specific to where you would say, well, we're not going to do that. Right. So the first one, which is one that I think I still get right up onto the edge, and it's like my foot, if the referee got to go back and look at the replay to see if I stepped out of bounds or not, because I still work on this, but it's ignoring your spouse.
Mm-hmm. How do you do that, Mr. Coleman?
Sometimes when I get upset, and here's the other thing, it's not necessarily upset with you. It could just be upset. Mm-hmm. I can tend to pull away or just not be distant. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I was going to say that whole passive aggressive thing, you know, if you have gotten so much better as far as we're concerned, with that, but that is sometimes that auto mode that you can go to, but you self-correct pretty quickly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so one of the things I found for me that ignoring or being passive aggressive or whatever you want to call it, it can be a substitute for actually talking about the issue.
It's an avoidance tactic.
Thank you. Yeah. And you know what? I heard it's another couple we follow, Marcus and Angel Tanksley. And their podcast is called "Is This Going to Cause an Argument?" They're hilarious. I really like listening to them. But I heard a clip that they were sharing, and Marcus was saying, and he's like, a lot of times when women ask men what's wrong, and we say I don't know. The reason why we say I don't know is because we really don't know. And it's like, we don't know. We don't think that way. We're not.
Right.
But one thing that I've discovered is, if you could just tell her maybe even just how you feel in the moment, that is something. So if I could just say, I'm mad right now. And even if I don't know what I'm mad about, maybe just, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I always say that, even if you're unsure about what it is that's going on with you in the moment or why you're feeling off or upset, just say that. Like, I'm really not sure. I'm trying to process and understand, myself, just give me a little bit of time, to do that. Yeah. And definitely as the spouse, definitely respect that and honor that. The deal is, though, you have to, for the person who says, give me a little space or a little time, you have to honor that and come back and have a conversation. You just can't, not come back and have the conversation, because now you're leaving your spouse in the position of, I don't know what's going on. I want to be helpful. If it's something that I've done, that I've said, I want to work on it. I want to have a conversation about it. And so, what happens is people tend to often tell themselves a story and assume a lot of different things. And so they're living in one headspace and you are processing and maybe even have worked through it and moved on, but you've never come back to share that with them. And that could put, create another issue.
It emotionally shuts people out of your life.
Exactly.
And that's not fair to the other person, because, that's part of connection, is being, emotionally connected. And another thing is, it breaks down the intimacy level in our lives. And what that does is sometimes it forces our spouse to seek other sources or unhealthy connections outside of the marriage. If that's another person, if that's a bad habit, whatever that is, whatever that is. So that's why we want to make sure that we are emotionally available
to our
spouses and not just cutting. When we don't feel all put together, we don't automatically shut them out. And like Tanya said, sometimes you need that time to process, but eventually you need to kind of let them in.
Right.
Yes. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, space and grace is not something that goes on for, weeks on end. Like, we have to come back and have this conversation. Yeah. We give each other space to process, but we also give each other space to say what it is that we need to say. And so eventually you kind of need to come back and say it.
And what I found is, the more I do that, the more I connect. And that's, what real connection is letting people letting our spouses into that space. The stronger our relationship, our bond comes, and the more healthy of a relationship we can have. Yep.
So good.
So number 2 is, and this is a big one, is we say one of the boundaries that we have, or the lines, or whatever you want to call it, we have our rules. We have is, we're not going to withhold sex from our spouse. Now, this is probably not an issue for most men. I know it's not an issue for me, because it's like, we always talk about it. It's like, we always ready, but, sometimes, and I can honestly say, I don't think you've ever done that.
No, I can't recall. Not intentionally, because I was upset with you about something.
Yeah.
There have been times where I may not have necessarily been in the mood or in an emotional space where I felt, where I could really connect with you, but it wasn't necessarily anything that you had done. It may have been something else that I was working through, some, outside things, just, work, school, exhaustion, dealing with extended family member stuff, all of that. But for the most part, I don't think I've ever done that. Now, have I just been tired? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I think that even with that, it goes back to what we just talked about. You need to communicate that.
Right.
And because I will say this, that I know for me, even with that, if you're tired and I'm not aware of that and you keep rejecting me for no reason that I know of, that can take a toll. And again, it goes back to, it leads to, me looking for
and assumptions
or just looking for that connection from somewhere else.
Right.
Because sex is a very important connection in marriage.
Absolutely.
And it's very important. It's a very important, I'll just say that it's a very important connection point. It's one of the, I would say is one of the best way. No, maybe not best way, but it's an important way that we connect.
Absolutely. I agree. The emotional connection that, that it brings and that it creates. It also is a telltale sign of when you are not emotionally connected,
that is
the way that the whole experience goes, you know what I mean? And for many women, if they are rejecting or withholding, it's because there's a lack of emotional connection there. And so that is something else that has to be explored within the relationship and another conversation or conversations that need to be had.
And I will say that, I think the more emotionally you're connected, and I've just seen that in our marriage, that the more we're emotionally connected, the better our sex life is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sex can be a barometer for, and I've heard people say that before. Sex maybe can't save the marriage, but it's an indicator in your marriage.
Sure. Yeah, that's good. Very good.
Yeah. So the next one we'll move on. So, is number 3. And this is kind of like, I would say it's a no-brainer, but I'm going to say it anyway, physically hurting one another. Right. That's we just said we're not going to do that.
Right.
And I'm not that type. I don't think I'm that. I've never been that emotional where I felt a need to hit someone or put my hands on someone. So if you get to that point, you need to maybe just walk away, leave. You need to do whatever you need to do. But that's something that we said we are not, that's a line that we are not willing to cross. And Tanya, because I know a lot of times when we talk about physical abuse, it's a lot of times, we look at the man, but I know there's some women out there who like to throw them hands. So it goes both ways.
Right. And it absolutely does go both ways. And, there are men who have been physically abused, and assaulted by women. And, when I have conversations with couples about this, I will ask, do you feel safe? If you do not feel safe, then you need to get to a place to where you feel safe. And that is the number one most important thing before we can do any other work through what's going on. You have to get yourself in a place to where you feel safe.
Yeah. And so with that being said, there are a lot of resources out there for people who are being abused. There are hotlines, there are shelters, there reach out to someone. Yeah,
we'll post some numbers in the show notes, or on the screen for people that may find themselves in that situation. We'll definitely post a couple of sites and phone numbers so we can do that.
Okay.
I just gave him some more work.
I know. I looked at you like, who said we were going to do that? Anyway.
We can't put it out there without putting it out there.
I got you. So the other thing is speaking negatively about each other to other people.
Yes.
Including family. You never want to talk to if we have a disagreement, that's between us and I'll just say that, and the other maybe third party person who should not be family or friends. It should be someone, a counselor, a therapist, a life coach, even a pastor, or someone,
relationship coach,
right? Someone like that. That we should not talk negatively or share our disagreements with anyone outside of that.
Especially, let me put this out there, especially your children.
Yes.
I don't know how many times I've heard from kids or otherwise how parents share. A mom will share her issues. Your daddy just this, or, or your mama always this. And now you're putting the emotional pressure of your relationship on your kids.
And you're forcing them to take a side.
And you're forcing them to take a side. They're distraught and confused and frustrated. And now you've caused them to have to switch roles. So now they're being emotionally responsible for you. And they're getting too much information about what's going on in your marriage and in your relationship. You want to display healthy habits and behaviors and not unhealthy habits and behaviors. Yes, if you're in a situation that is abusive and toxic, and yes, so you need to display to them getting out of that, or how do we heal that, but not necessarily talking to them about their other parent or your spouse, even if it's not their parent.
Yeah. And here's the other thing, with family and friends, most of the times when you go to your family or your friends with your problems in your marriage, most of the time, unless they're some really good friends, they're going to take your side.
Right.
They're going to, even if you're wrong, they're going to take your side. And then furthermore, when you and your spouse make up, then they are probably not gonna forgive as easy as your spouse would. So now there's tension. Now, we're coming up on Thanksgiving this next week, right? So now there's tension in the room because you went and told your mom or your dad or whatever about this thing that's going on in your marriage. And now,
they're barely speaking to your spouse.
Exactly. So
give me the cranberry sauce.
Yeah. So there's some, but the people that you do, because sometimes you do need help, and it's better to get help. How do they say that? It's better to get help than to suffer in silence or something like that.
Absolutely.
So, but here are our requirements for who you should go to for help when you are having a disagreement or something's happened in your marriage. And we got this from Dave and Ashley Willis with the Naked Marriage podcast.
Yes.
Look, man, we listen to a lot. We listen to a lot of content. And it's all about being better. Yeah. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best.
Oh, you got it down, babe.
Watch out, man. But anyway, this is what they say. There are 4 things that they say. Number 1, the person that you go to, number 1, should love God. They should love you. They should love your spouse and be for your marriage. And not be in
favor of your marriage.
Before your marriage. They're gonna always put your marriage before you two. You got what maybe I shouldn't say that, but I think you get the gist of what I'm saying. They're not going to be someone who's going to take your side and always, even when you're wrong, they're going to tell you you're wrong, and that even when your spouse is in the wrong, they're not going to put you against your spouse. They're going to help you heal what's broken.
Yeah, that's good. Very good.
Makes sense?
It does. Makes complete sense to me.
So the other one kind of is along the same lines, is we're not going to allow other people to speak negatively about our spouse.
Yes.
We should always be the number one protector of our spouse physically and their reputation. Yes. So when we hear other people talking about our spouse, even if it's, if it could be a parent, mother. Anybody, wait a minute, just kindly please do not talk about
or talk to them in a disrespectful way in your presence.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even if it's not in your presence and you hear about it, then that's your job to go back and correct that.
Yeah, and if they can't abide by that, then I don't need to be around you, because I don't need you putting those type of thoughts and feelings about my spouse. In my ear, in my head.
Yeah. So that's good.
So we're not going to allow people to speak negatively. So that's one of the boundaries. And again, these are set up for our protection.
Right.
And if other people can't agree with that, well, then you can't be inside of our fence, our boundary.
I just thought of what was the movie when you talked about the circle of trust?
Oh, Meet the Parents.
Yes.
You're outside of the circle of trust.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other one, the number 6 is we don't keep secrets.
No, we don't keep secrets.
So it's like now let me preface that. There's some, Tanya's a licensed professional counselor.
Right.
So of course
that's not a secret.
That's not what we're talking about.
That's work.
Yeah. We're talking about, I'm not going to tell her about this money that I spent on this, or I'm not going to tell her,
this big thing that one of the kids did, and daddy, please don't tell mommy, or mommy, please don't tell daddy.
None of that.
Yeah, it's all out on the table.
And even with the little things, you can say, well, a little secret, everybody have their, well, here's the deal is that it goes back to connection. It goes back to that emotional availability. And when you keep a secret, you don't know this, but you are building an emotional wall between you and your spouse. And the more secrets that you keep, the bigger that wall becomes and the easier that becomes. And then it's like, there's going to be this something between you and your spouse and you don't know what it is, but it's that invisible wall that you've built by keeping the secrets. So I have this note here. When we keep secrets, we limit the amount of intimacy we can experience with one another.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that gets, and you said it in a different way, but secrets get in the way of the connection. Even for the person that's keeping the secret, there's a thing in you that is preventing you from really connecting and truly connecting with your spouse because you know that you are withholding something from them.
Yeah. So I think our deepest desire is to be known, is to know our spouse and to be known by our spouse.
That's good.
And so when we keep secrets, that's something that hinders that knowing.
That knowing. Yeah. That's so good. Yeah. It's the intimacy you see that people talk about with intimacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So number 7, the last one is we don't speak unkindly at each other or in an unkind or unbecoming manner. In other words, we're not going to shout, raise our voices,
call each other names.
None of that. None of that. Although, well, never mind.
Other than sweet, kind, loving names.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
Nothing. Keep going.
No, I was letting you go.
No, I was adding to what you said.
So here's the deal.
Caught up in something going on in your head.
I had a thought, but I'm not going to share it. So we have to determine, before we disagree, we determine how we're going to disagree. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to talk, because here's the thing about it is most people think that disagreement is the problem, but it's not disagreement because we're going to disagree because we're two different people. We think differently. We were raised differently. There's a lot of...
And we're individual people. We are one in the spirit, by way of the Holy Spirit and God and the covenant of marriage, but we are individuals. It's like, I've got a brain.
Yeah.
You've got a brain. We have feelings, we have thoughts, all of those things. I say that in that manner because some people think that oneness means that we do everything alike. We do everything together. Yeah. We say the same stuff. No, we're not robots.
I know this is kind of cliche-ish, but they say, and I've heard people say opposites attract. And I think it's a true thing. It's something to that. But you're right. And, I'll always go back to this. We made a post, I don't know, a few months back. And I love it because it says, the goal of marriage is not to think alike, but to think together.
To think together. We are a team.
And we're not going to always see eye to eye. And a lot of people, I know for me, I'm not a confrontational person, and I don't like confrontation. I'm learning now, though, that there's nothing wrong with confrontation. There's nothing wrong with speaking your mind, speaking up for yourself. But it's all about it's the purpose behind why you're doing it. I'm not doing it to belittle you. I'm doing it because I want to have my input.
I have a thought.
and don't be afraid of disagreement in your marriage. You have to it's a part of it. And you have to learn how to process through that, how to communicate to each other. So it's important that you learn to talk through disagreements and not, because I always say that either side of that spectrum is dangerous. Screaming and fighting and fussing is dangerous, but not saying anything is dangerous also.
As well. Absolutely.
So you have to learn how to navigate that middle territory. And even though if you go to either side of that, learn how to walk your way back to the middle. It's hard to forget harmful things.
It takes 5 healthy things or good things or unharmful things, however you want to put it, to correct one.
I've even heard 7.
5 to 7, I think is the average.
Because I remember we did a training at work, and it was like it takes
and I've heard 7 as well, and
7
I've heard 5 more
attaboys.
recently.
That's how they put it. It takes 7 attaboys to correct one
negative. So negative. 7 positive things to correct one negative thing, basically.
Yeah. So, so you don't want to, and it's like once you release words, man, it's words are like bullets.
Yeah.
Even if they are not intended to hurt, to harm, they can kill, right? And so you want to, always, and I always say like what the word says, be slow to speak. You said something really good the other day about taking 40 seconds, was it?
Yes, take the 40 second rule. Before you respond, answer, take 40 seconds.
And that just really slows things down and really helps you to process. And it gives you room to not just be on the offense, to really listen and hear and understand what the person that you're having a disagreement with is saying. And that in and of itself sometimes can really help to
kind of it de-escalates the situation, because you're not reacting. Well, the words are just shooting back and forth. When you take that 40 seconds to really listen and hear and to think, then now you're not reacting, you're now responding. Yeah. And that's a huge difference. Yeah.
So that's all of them. And these are just, like I said, these are just some boundaries, some borders, some lines we've drawn up. And we said, these are some things we're not going to do. These are some lines that we're not willing to cross. And it also helps us keep each other accountable. And even if we find ourselves getting to that place, we could say, hey, we agree that we wouldn't do this. We're not going to operate like this. So it helps keep each other accountable. It helps walk us back from that line. It just helps keep our relationship healthy. Right. So I would just encourage you to have this talk, because when you're in the heat of it, when you're in the thick of it, as the backyardigans say, when you're in the thick of it, it's hard.
Came to mind.
It's hard to deal with it then. Right. So it's going to happen. You're going to have disagreements. Those lines are going to be approached. So let's prepare for it on this side. Yeah, so we know where those boundaries, where those borders, and you'll know for yourself, okay, I'm getting close to that. I need to back away. All right. So that's all we have for you this week.
Strategies, guys. These are strategies.
Yep. That's all it is. It's a tip and a trick to keep you in bounds.
Okay. I like it.
All right. So we always want to remind you that you can follow us on Marriage Matters 0526 on Facebook
and Instagram.
And Instagram. Follow us at Marriage Matters 0526. You can find us on YouTube. You can just search Marriage Matters on YouTube. And also, if you want to listen to us on your ride or your drive home, that's a great time to listen to podcasts.
To and from work.
So you can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Google Play, on Spotify, on Anchor, on all digital outlets where you find podcasts. We're probably there. So we thank you so much. We appreciate you so much. One more thing I want to mention, that we're working on something we're calling the Peace Plan. And it's going to be something great. We're still putting it together and figuring out what it is, but just be on the lookout for that, the Peace Plan. You want to say anything about that?
Well, I wanted to say before we get to the peace plan, we do have a masterclass coming up. It is a masterclass on communication. We are going to do it. It's a free masterclass on communication, November 28th. So a week from the day that this podcast will air for the first time, it will be the Sunday after Thanksgiving. So November 28th, if you are interested, if you know of a couple that could use a little work on their communication, then let us know, leave a comment below, get into our inbox and let us know, hey, how do I sign up for this? Let us know that you're interested and we will make sure that we get you signed up, registered, because you do have to register. If you're not registered, it's not going to be live on Facebook. It's not going to be live on Instagram. You have to register to participate. So in order to be there, you got to let us know that you want to be there.
Yeah.
So
be there or be square.
Be there or be square. I'm telling you guys, this is going to be a good one. Masterclass on communication in marriage, November 28th. Let us know. Hey, I'm interested. How do I check it out? How do I sign up? We'll let you know.
Yeah. You know why they say be there or be square?
Why?
Because if you're not there, then you're not around.
Is this a real thing or you just made this up on the spot?
No, it's a real thing. That's where that saying came from.
I had no idea.
You're not around, so you'll be square.
As they say, I was this many days old when I learned that one. Yeah. Okay, cool.
I just learned it a couple of weeks ago. I don't know where I heard it, but I heard it. But yeah, so be around. Yeah. Don't be square. Anyway, this is Glenn and Tanya Coleman reminding you that
your marriage.
Let me do it again. This is Glenn and Tanya Coleman reminding you that your marriage matters. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.